Hi everyone, welcome to the first of a series of videos for our 2021 Crossing Newfoundland by ATV trip. If you watched last year's videos, you saw us travel the west coast of Newfoundland. This year, we did the entire island, starting on the east coast in Argentia and finishing in Port Basque. We had 8 amazing days worth of trail riding, enjoying world-class scenery and fantastic camaraderie. We went from September 1st to the 10th, which included our ferry ride over and back to Nova Scotia. After arriving in Argentia, we drove to Clarenville, then Gander, Badger, Cloudy Pond where we spent 2 nights, 2 nights in Robinson's where we spent the night at Pirates Haven, and then last but not least, Port Basque where we took the overnight ferry back to Nova Scotia. If you like these videos, please click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to plan an ATV trip like this to Newfoundland, be sure to go to my website at www.crossingnewfoundlandbyatv.com. Everything you need to know to plan this trip is there. I show you where to get gas, where to get food, where to stay. I also have handy, easy to follow, free GPS tracks that you can download and put into your smartphone or your GPS. Day 1, road trip and overnight ferry to Newfoundland. Scrambled eggs and coffee are not a bad way to start the day. We had been looking forward to this day for a long time and it was finally here. It is. I don't think Bella was too happy about it though, because she's going to miss sharing breakfast with me for the next 10 days. Today's the day, finally, we're going to Newfoundland. It's day 1 of 10 and we just have to pack the machine up, put our gear in it, get it on the trailer, and drive to North Sydney from here. So it's a bit of a road trip, so a couple other guys that are in different places are going to come meet up with us here, and then we're going to kind of go with a little caravan of ATVs and trucks down the highway to the Marine Atlantic Ferry Terminal.
Looks like you're expecting rain.
Yeah, I'm going to put Moosey to work this year. A few of us decided to travel together to the ferry terminal, and we were all going to travel together to North Sydney. And this year, Dwayne has a brand new machine, which you will get to see a bit more of throughout this video and other ones in the series.
Okay, so what's going on right now?
We are on our way to the ferry road trip on the 104 heading eastbound, and we just got back. We just went by a big accident with a big giant dump truck and an 18-wheeler that got rear-ended. So, but now it looks like traffic's clearing up, so that's good. I was worried for a few minutes there that we were going to be way behind. The last thing you want to do is be late for the ferry, but I think we're going to be fine. It's still only 11 o'clock, so we should be, yeah, looks like we're going to be fine here. Everybody offloaded their machines and they were spending a few minutes getting caught up because some people hadn't seen each other since last year. And Tony in the gray shirt there, he didn't make it last year, so it was great that he could come this year. And that's Brent. He never came with us before, and that's a brand new Wolverine X4 he just got a few days before the trip. So how many kilometers?
0.
0.
I've driven it off and on the trailer and that was it.
Wow.
That's the way to break her in, man.
We're just about to check in here, and you can see the ferry off in the background. And this is an exciting part of the trip. Everyone's stoked to get on that boat and to get over to Newfoundland. This is Dwayne's new Turbo RR. I don't even think it's seen any dirt yet. It's so new.
Woo! What a beauty. Oh, look at that. EastCoastATV right on the side. First sticker. Check out this.
When we were waiting in the ferry terminal yard, we ran into some gentlemen from Quebec and Ontario that were doing the same trip as us, and they were also doing an East Coast Challenge. Quebec, Ontario, and all of Atlantic Canada, all done with off-road vehicles and a support team. I'll explain more about that later. There's something about driving an ATV and a side-by-side onto one of these ferries. I never get tired of doing that. Oh, here we are on the boat, and there's Terrence in his new machine. He got rid of his CF Moto, now he has a Maverick XMR 1000. And there's Steve, he hasn't been on the trip with us before, on the blue Kawasaki. It's Bruce and Tony in the Can-Am, Brent in the Yamaha, Dan in the Commander, and Dwayne in the Maverick X3. Man, the inside of this ferry can be like a maze when you're trying to find your room. Just wait until you see how big these are. This was a 4-bunk room, but only 3 of us were staying in it. And as you can see, we were already in the room a little earlier and dropped off some of our gear. Since these rooms are not quite that big to spend 16 hours in, we decided to get out and explore the ship a little bit. The ferry leaves Nova Scotia at 5:30 p.m. and it gets into Newfoundland around 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. We couldn't have asked for better weather for this crossing. I have some more footage of the boat that I want to show you, but I don't have a lot to say, so it's probably time for a montage. I ended up waking up at around 5:30 and just got up and started exploring the ship again. And then I noticed they were serving coffee inside, so I went in and got one of those. This was the view from the window, and then after that I went out and walked around the outside deck again for a while. It stayed overcast as we started to pull into port. The temperature was nice. If it's too hot like it was the day before when we left Nova Scotia, that'd be kind of brutal for ATVing for 8 or 10 hours. I kind of like overcast weather myself when I'm out ATVing on the trails for a long day. Once you leave the ferry, you have to drive down the provincial highway, only a few hundred meters, and then the road splits to the left, right where this sign is. And we usually pull over and stop here just to get all of our gear ready, give the machines a quick once over to make sure nothing's wrong, and inspect our gear to make sure we have it all strapped down, because you don't want to be losing it out on the trail. And speaking of the trail, this is it right here. This is where you start the trip. I think this is generally everybody's first stop who does the trip from the East Coast side, because you're driving all through woods and trails until all of a sudden you get to here and it opens up, and it's for your first spot to stop to take a picture, this is pretty nice. It rained for a few days before we got there, so there was some water down on the trail. I mean, it was nothing serious at all. A lot of the guys, including myself, like it if it rains a few days before or even the night before, because it cuts down on the amount of trail dust. The first 20 or 30 kilometers, there's often a lot of water down like this, but we don't care. We love this. Look at Brent trying to avoid the water in his new machine. It turns out that was probably a really good idea, but you'll find out why later in another episode. Terrence definitely isn't afraid of getting a little wet.
Oh, he hit it hard.
It's all fun and games until somebody blows a sidewall after only 18 kilometers on the first day. Oh wait, that's me. It's a good thing we bring spare wheels and tires with us. I bet you we had that wheel off, the spare on, and ready to roll, I bet you in less than 10 minutes. We found a really nice opening right on the trail and decided to stop here for lunch and barbecue up some hamburgers and hot dogs. I have the spot marked on my GPS tracks, so if you're following the information from my website to plan your own trip, you'll be able to find this spot as well. First person to name this song in the comments gets a free East Coast ATV sticker mailed out to them. We were on the trail for about 25 or 30 minutes after we left there, and then the flat ferry visited Bruce. We saw a lot of those rail spikes on the rail bed this year because they did a lot of grading and a lot of work all around the province. The trails were in the best condition that I've seen, I think, ever in all the years I've been doing this, which is fantastic. So thank you very much to all the clubs and all the organizations that had anything to do with doing all the work on the trails in the last year or two.
Who's holding the shovel? Who's holding the shovel?
That air compressor was worth every dollar of that $19.99 I spent on sale at Canadian Tire to buy it a few years ago. That was a pretty easy fix. I think it only took 2 plugs and then we were back on the trail. We stopped for a trail break right along this power line section, and Terrence decided to go take his new Maverick out for a rip on it. Dwayne decided to take his new machine up there too.
Rubbing in yet?
Oh boy. Fun. Oh, those tires, man, dude. They're hard, aren't they?
Yeah, I couldn't leave you two. Yeah, I got 2 holes and 4 plugs.
2 holes and 4 plugs. Yeah.
We stopped for some gasoline, some snacks, and some other things at the gas station in Goobies. Moosey got to meet a long-lost relative, and then we realized that the flat ferry hit us again, and this time it was Brent's sidewall. Rain-X on a polycarbonate windshield is your friend in bad weather. We had to drive a short distance on a paved road to get back to the trailway, and there was some road construction going on here on our way back. The closer we got to Clarenville, which is where we were going for the night, the more rain was coming down and there was more water on the trail. But this year I put my windshield on and it worked great. We stayed at the Quality Hotel in Clarenville, and it's really convenient because it's right off the main trail. And they have rooms on the main level that have inside doors and outside doors, so you can easily back your machines up to your hotel rooms and offload your stuff into your room for the night. They also have an excellent restaurant right in the hotel called Bella's. We had supper there and then breakfast again the next morning. For today's trip, we started in Argentia. We went north up towards Placentia Junction, then we hung a left, and we went all the way up to Clarenville, which is right here. And the rail bed is the line in blue, which is here and here. And if I zoom in a little bit more, you can see the hotel we stayed at is right here, the Quality Hotel, and here is the trail that takes you to it. So it's right off the rail bed. It couldn't be really any easier to get to. Our total distance traveled was 141 kilometers or 87 miles. It took us 7.5 hours roughly to do that, and that's with lots of stops. Our average moving speed was about 38 kilometers an hour, which is roughly 24 miles per hour, and our maximum altitude for the day was 175 meters or 575 feet. Day 3, we went from Clarenville to Gander. How can we be on day 3 already? Because I ruined my back tire on the trail the day before, I decided I should probably buy a new one if I can find one in town. So I called around, I found an ATV dealer called Coastal Outdoors, which was really close to the hotel we were at. They had the right size tire, and I told them I was crossing the province. They told me to come right over first thing, and they put that tire on for me. It really worked out well. Thanks a lot, Coastal Outdoors. This is part of our morning ritual on the Newfoundland ATV trip, making sure we have all of our gear and making sure that we pack it in the machines so that we can get to it, but also to make sure that it doesn't pop out on the trail someplace. It was pretty wet out because it had rained pretty hard the night before. As we always say in this trip, if it's raining, there's no trail dust. Daryl and I left the hotel and went to the ATV dealer to get my tire replaced. Everybody else went to a grocery store to get food and water and snacks for the rest of the day, and then we were just going to meet up with them afterwards. Well, I must say that was quick and painless. They got the tire on for me in no time. And then when we get back on the trail, which is only a few hundred meters away, almost right away we ran into our group.
I know, right? I should put my rain gear on. Got my windshield and get the back tire on. We're all set to go.
We were only on the trail for a few minutes and we came across this old CN train we had to stop and take a picture at. That's Moosey's paparazzi right there. One of the cool things about the trailway in Clarenville is that it kind of snakes its way all through town. So if you live there, you could get just about anywhere through town on a ATV or a side-by-side. Just on the other side of Clarenville, there's a nice lake that we always like to stop at when we're going on this route, east to west. And just before it is a nice sand pit that we stop at, and we always have a lot of fun playing in there for a few minutes. And then the trail from there into the lake is really nice. You'll see it here in a minute. Terrence is having a blast with his Maverick. This is the trail I mentioned earlier that goes into the lake, and it's mostly sand. It's really nice the way it's cut out in here through the trees and stuff. It's almost worth a run into the lake just to drive this trail. Back in 2018, we spent the night here camping instead of spending the night at the hotel in Clarenville, and it was a really fun time, but you're not allowed to camp there anymore, unfortunately, because it's too close to a watershed area. Once we leave this lake, we're going to go back towards the railbed, but we're not actually going to get on the railbed. We're going to take a new transmission line that was put in a few years ago, and it'll save us a bit of time, and it's actually, it's quite fun to drive in some areas. You'll see here coming up. It's time for a head count, and there's the wave. Everyone's here. That's a bit of a sketchy bridge, but I'm glad it's there. After we got off this trail, we got back on the rail bed, and then we came across a waterfall on the side of the trail, and we stopped to take some pictures.
All right, who's going swimming?
We did this trip way back in around 2014 or 15, I think, and it was really hot that summer, and Just about everybody in the group actually get into this waterfall at that point to cool off. I'm glad they replaced the decking on that bridge since we were there. By late morning, the sun started to come out and it was actually pretty nice out. When you get to Terra Nova and cross a bridge there over a river, there's a nice waterfall there, and there's also a clearing just past the bridge where we usually pull in and have our lunch there. We're in no rush. We take 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. We just enjoy ourselves and have fun talking and enjoying the scenery around there. We make up our time on the trail. You couldn't find a better spot to stop for lunch here. In fact, I know some people that have gone through here and arranged their day around it and camped here for the night. The section between Terra Nova and Gambo of the trail here is just fantastic. There was a lot of work done and it shows. Generally on sections of the trails like this with short water holes where there's lots of them, we usually go through here at a pretty good pace, but it was hot and I had cracked my window open to get some air in there, so I started going slow through the puddles here because I didn't want to get soaked. This is Gambo, and this is a little pub that's right off the trailway, and we're about an hour away from Gander, which is our destination for the night. And we usually pull in here. It's kind of tradition for us now to stop in here and sit on their patio for about a half an hour or so before we hit the trail for the last hour. So we're on our last leg of the trip now to Gander. We have about 40 kilometers to go, which is about 25 miles. It takes us about an hour or so to do this. And there's a nice section here that's really long and straight for a long time. That's right around where the airport is, just outside of Gander. And there's a section we always pull over and stop. And we saw a ditch there that Terrence looked at and thought his machine could get through over to the other side, and he wanted to give it a try. Oh, you're burning your belt.
Are you in low? I got it up there.
That's deep.
There you go. I need a tow.
Who's got a winch?
That is deep. You gonna pull him out there? I'll give him a try. All right.
I think if he had had a bit of a run on and some momentum, he would have made it. Brent's tire needed a little bit of air to top it up, but it was doing amazingly well considering the 2 holes in the sidewall. We decided to hit the trail and get to the hotel, but not without actually hitting some puddles hard first. Gander is a very ATV friendly town. In fact, there are several streets where you're legally allowed to drive them, and where you can't drive them, like this highway that's right next to me, they have a trail cut along the side of it. So we stayed in another quality hotel, very ATV friendly. There's a section of rooms around the back where they have doors that go to the outside, so it's very easy to bring all your gear inside to your room. Here's a quick recap of our trip from Clarenville to Gander today. We started in Clarenville, took the rail bed all the way through town. We stopped over here quickly at Shoal Harbor Pond, and the sand pit was right here on the way in. That's what you saw earlier too. And then we stopped over here on the rail bed at the waterfall. And then we stopped in Terra Nova, where we had our lunch. Then we traveled north. We stopped over here at the Trailway Lounge in Gambo. Then we jumped back on the rail bed. We stopped near the plane crash monument, just outside of Gander, where the airport is. And then we followed the actual trailway through most of the town. And then we followed this route, which took us right down into downtown Gander here, where there's several hotels and restaurants. We drove a total of 156 kilometers, which is about 97 miles. Our total traveling time was 9 hours and 7 minutes, and that's including all of our stops. Our average moving speed was 39 kilometers an hour, which is 24 miles per hour, and our maximum altitude was 204 meters or 669 feet. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you liked this first video in our series of 2021 Crossing Newfoundland by ATV videos. There's more to see, so stay tuned for future uploads. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button so you get notified if you're not already. And here's a few things you're going to see in future videos.